everybody out there in Facebook land. Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal, Nick Talbot, AJ Media Sports Editor, coming to you live here on Saturday night from Jones AT&T Stadium, where this evening Texas Tech Red Raiders pull out a 52-45 victory against Arizona State in a game that was crazy and a little bit more dramatic a finish than the Red Raiders were expecting they were going to have for most of the game tonight. Nick?
More than I was expecting, too. When it was 42-24, Don, I thought they were going to roll, especially when it was 21-3, but this turned out to be the close game that both of us predicted. I said, in our pregame show that it could come down to the final play, and it pretty much did almost come down to the final play with Dylan Cantrell scoring on, I don't know what you call it, a jet sweep, wide receiver jet sweep.
Well, it was a jet sweep, but keep in mind Dylan Cantrell was not actually lined up as a wide receiver or even a slot receiver on that play. Yeah. He actually began that play lined up behind the tackle and was almost right there next to Nick Shimonette when Nick pulled away from center. Quick little handoff and boom, and he takes it to the perimeter. Dylan Cantrell credited Dante Thompson with a seal block there, lined up at tight end, and then he shows the speed to get into the end zone. Red Raiders win at 52-45, but I thought, one of the big stories of the game tonight, Nick, was the other Nick Shimonette.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll let you kind of hit the high spots on Nick Shimonette.
All right. He just looked really good. He looked poised throughout the entire game. I think the most important thing was that he led that 90-yard drive to finish off the game. That shows incredibly poise from Nick Shimonette. From the game against Eastern Washington, that he was very accurate. That's what we had learned so far. Now we know he's accurate and that he can get it done in the clutch. I think those are the two biggest things to take away from this game. Of course, he threw, Red Raider style. He threw for 543 yards, I believe,
543
and six touchdowns. It was a very impressive performance. He's 37 of 50, so he has the accuracy. But more than anything, he was able to lead the team when it mattered.
Yeah, and it's easy when you've watched Texas Tech air raid quarterbacks for 17 years, 18 years now, to kind of the numbers become a blur. But I was just looking at it, and Nick Shimonette's 543 yards is higher than all but two of Patrick Mahomes' games last year, and his 6 touchdown passes matched Patrick Mahomes' career high. So it wasn't just another really good game by Texas Tech quarterback. It was, even by Texas Tech standards, a really special one. And Nick also made some really impressive throws, I thought, this evening. A couple of them in particular to Dylan Cantrell.
Yeah, Cantrell made some amazing catches today. He finished with, I believe, 8 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Career high 160.
Career high.
And I was impressed with both of those touchdowns. One of those was really a thing of beauty. 29-yarder there in the first half. Came on a 3rd and 17, and Dylan Cantrell runs a post. The cornerback is right there with him on his shoulder.
Just good chemistry right there. Good timing.
Yeah, and Shimonette puts the ball right where it had to be, just right over the cornerback's shoulder. He had great coverage and threaded the needle. Dylan Cantrell catches it in stride. There in the back of the end zone, and then late there in the second quarter, just before halftime, Dylan runs a little back shoulder route, and Nick Shimonette fires one in there, fastball, and put it right on the money.
Yeah, we always used to say that Cantrell had a really good rapport with Patrick Mahomes, but I think the general consensus now is that Dylan Cantrell is just really good.
Dylan Cantrell's really good, and I remember asking Dylan about Nick back in the spring and asking him about how long it took Nick Shimonette to kind of earn credibility with other Texas Tech players, and Dylan pointed out to me that they actually played together in the Texas High School All-Star game when they were coming out of high school. So Dylan already had a little familiarity with him before either of them even got here to Texas Tech. And then, of course, Dylan pointed out that, hey, Nick's been here this is his 4th year now. So the chemistry has had plenty of time to develop. Now we're just kind of taking it to the field and showing everybody what we've been doing in practice for quite some time now.
Yeah, and we're bragging on Dylan Cantrell a lot here, but he wasn't even the leading receiver tonight. He didn't lead in receptions or yards. That was actually Kiki Kuti, who had 12 catches for 186 yards and a score. So we can't leave him off there.
Yeah, both career highs for Kiki Kuti as well. So
great game from the wide receivers, which really showed the skill of that position today, Don. I think that's one reason Tech was able to escape was this win. They probably shouldn't have had to escape with it, but I think the wide receivers or one of the reasons that really lifted them to the win.
Yeah, and not to sound like a old skeptical cynic here, but Arizona State was last in the FBS in pass defense last year and 2 years ago. So you can say, hey, Texas Tech should do this. I mean, Arizona State's pass defense has been as bad the last 2 years as Texas Tech's run defense has been, worst in the nation. So Tech should do that. At the same time, they've had a difficult time winning close games, and as a couple of guys said after the game this evening, that was kind of one of their big takeaways is, hey, at least found a way to win.
Yeah.
And that's not something that they were able to do last year.
No, I wouldn't say this is a completely different team. When it was 42-24, I was pretty much writing my column that said this was a completely different team. Fourth quarter, I had to completely rewrite my columm, but
and here's what happened is
they did come out in the clutch and win.
They did do it in the clutch, and I don't, not to knock Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously fantastic. You don't lead the FBS in total offense twice as he did the last 2 years, but one of the reasons why I was reluctant to rate. A lot of people say Patrick's the best quarterback Tech's ever had. I think he might be the most talented quarterback Tech's ever had, but I can't accord him best quarterback Tech's ever had because he didn't. I don't remember him ever having like a signature play that won a game. Think back to last year, the Texas game. It's 45-37. He has Tony Brown wide open there at the 10-yard line. Instead of throwing it to him, he forces a bad pass into the end zone. It gets picked off. Versus, again, Nick, tonight, when it's 45-45, you're thinking, Arizona State's going to – this is same old Texas Tech. Arizona State's going to win this game. But Nick Shimanek, who seems to have ice in his veins, takes some 90 yards, converted to 3rd and 8 way early in that drive when they're still pretty deep in Tech territory. And
I think in one fairness that Patrick Mahomes, one thing that he didn't have that Nick Shimanek got today is stops when it matters.
At least a few defensive plays.
If this was last year – with 1 minute left, Arizona State would have handed the ball to Kellen Ballage, and he would have ran 75 yards for the touchdown and the win.
Yeah, and they still score. They score 45 tonight, which is too many.
Too many.
But they did it tonight in completely different fashion than Arizona State did last year. I mean, you look at the final stats, and Kellen Ballage had 16 carries for 56 yards and only 1 touchdown, and Demario Richard had 15 for 53 and only 1 touchdown, and they had – Kalen Ballage's longest run tonight was 14 yards. Demario Richard's longest run tonight was 10 yards. They each averaged 3.5 yards per carry. Had you told David Gibbs those were going to be their numbers before the game, he probably would have been doing backflips and saying,
absolutely.
Fantastic, that's awesome. But, the thing that we saw right from the jump tonight was Manny Wilkins came out throwing it to N'Keal Harry in particular, this big 6'4" receiver who was a big-time blue-chip recruit a couple of years ago, and they kept going to him, and he finishes 13 for 148.
Yeah, and it was an amazing performance by him, but the defense came up big when it mattered. They came up with a stop to set up the 90-yard score, and then came up with a sack. At the end of the game, I believe that was Tony Jones, right, with the last sack?
No, actually, the last sack was Zach Barnes.
Zach Barnes
was lined up at left end, and Eli Howard was lined up at right end, and Zach Barnes, they kind of met at the quarterback, and Zach Barnes was there a little bit ahead of Eli Howard and got credit for the sack. But I was going to say though, tonight we visited with Jordan Brooks after the game, and. Cliff Kingsbury, a couple of times last week, really put the defensive breakdowns last year on a young front seven, particularly all the young linebackers that they had to play in that game were really out of position, not filling gaps correctly. And Jordan Brooks tonight said, that was the big difference, is that they knew where they were supposed to be. They had an extra week to get ready for Arizona State this year, and they didn't have those big busts. Yes, Arizona State scores 45, but Tech didn't get gashed in the running game really at all tonight.
No, not really at all. Of course, the downside is that they did give up 28 points. Four straight
touchdowns by Arizona State coming out of halftime.
Right, and that allowed them to tie the game at 45 because Tech led this game by 18 points 3 times. That's the big negative from the night, is that when and even Cliff Kingsbury went on about this, is when you have a team down by that much, you got to put them away. So that's one thing the Red Raiders are going to have to work on. They got over one hump today, which is winning a close game. Now they have to work on putting teams away when they have them, because this really, I mean, you said at one point they should have been up 28-3 in the first half.
Well, you know, it was 21-3. This the crowd, the stadium is on fire, electric, thinking blowout. And then they have that stretch. Tech committed only 6 penalties tonight, but it seemed like all 6 came in one defensive series, and a couple of them were just dumb penalties.
4 for 47.
Yeah.
In that one drive.
I mean, you had
unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah, that was the thing. DJ Palabre gets the unsportsmanlike conduct.
Mm-hmm.
That was after he broke up a pass on third down, so he had made the play to get him off the field, and then I guess it was like a taunting or jawing or something like that.
I think they called it taunting, and then of course there was a late hit.
By Deshaun Johnson, who was already fired, who was already keyed up during that series because he had got called for pass interference, and it was really giving it to the field judge and the back judge just 2 or 3 plays before that. So
and that was when they were down the field, Don. You can't even discount the holding play they had after Dakota Allen would have been a Dakota Allen sack that would have stopped the drive almost like inside the 20. So that's when things started kind of going bad. They got Arizona State got the lead down to 21-17. But then,
and that was the thing. You had all those penalties, which basically gives them a touchdown, and then you answer with a very authoritative drive, and Desmond Nisby trying to reach the ball across the goal line, fumbles it, and you cost yourself a touchdown there, and then next thing you know, as you said, it's 21-17, and it's a game again.
Yeah, and then Tech was able to respond. They went back up 35-17, only to see Arizona State come right back. That was a lot of the play of Manny Wilkins, though, who just got on fire in the second half. Tech just has to find a way to finish, though. I think that's the other last take, the most negative take we have about today, because a lot of things did go right. Obviously, Nick Shimanek, the wide receiver play, and being able to finish the games, which are all good things that we may not have seen last year.
Let's see. One of the other little notes tonight, Taylor Nunez misses this game, was away from the team tonight. Of course, his father, as Taylor told us back in August, was recently diagnosed with cancer. He was with him this evening, I believe, and so he was not here tonight. Red Raiders did get Clayton Hatfield, kicker, who, of course, made 27 out of his first 30 field goals. He was back tonight. He kicked all the extra points, but when they had an opportunity for a field goal there in the second half, they let Michael Barden kick a 39-yarder. So Hatfield apparently hip flexor that he's been dealing with. So he was kicking tonight, kicking extra points, but maybe they didn't want to push it on anything beyond that.
Right, and the other person who was missing is Travis Bruffy. He's still missing, still out. And Cliff Kingsbury said he didn't want to obviously push him again. So Madison Akamanu was on the offensive line again tonight.
And if I remember correctly, I think Cliff Kingsbury after the game said he was hoping to have Travis Bruffy back in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, but he was very non-committal. But yes. Right. So, final thoughts, Don?
Well, I guess it's kind of like the Red Raiders said. They've lost so many games like this the last year in particular that they're happy just to pull a win out and have an opportunity to be, 3-0 maybe. They go down to Houston, and it'd be nice for them to be 3-0 before Oklahoma State comes to town for the Big 12 opener, because that's going to be no walk in the park at all.
Not at all. Well, I think that'll do it for our Facebook Live show today for RedRaiders.com. Don Williams, Nicholas Talbot, thanks for joining us. And our sponsor, University Medical Center. Thanks for joining us tonight.